Hey guys, Nabil here, back with another Street Fighter 6 video. Now in this video we're going to talk about Street Fighter 6 running on the Steam Deck, and we're going to see how well this game runs on this amazing handheld. Now one of the reasons I got the Steam Deck myself is to be able to play fighting games on the go, whether it's the King of Fighters 15, retro games, or the newly released Street Fighter 6. So let's go ahead and see how it works both on the handheld mode as well as dock mode. Now, first of all, we're going to look at some of the settings. I'm trying to put everything here on high. So the resolution is obviously 1280 by 720. And I'm leaving pretty much everything on and put in the maximum frame rate at 30. And this excludes the fighting game portion. We'll talk about that in a second. I'm leaving pretty much the lighting effect, the texture quality, high. The mesh quality, I put it in normal. I'll switch it back to high. Shadow quality is normal. Everything else is high except sampling quality, which is a standard, and bloom is set to standard. Now we're gonna see how well this is gonna run. Again, this is on handheld mode, and the results are honestly really surprising. It works really well. Now this is, you see 3 frames per second, 30 frames per second. This is outside of the fighting game part, outside of the fighting. So it's kind of now set to 30, and these classic costumes look awesome. So as you can see, it's running at a solid 60 frames per second, and it absolutely is stunning that we're able to play this great fighting game with all the great graphics and quality that it brings, and you can play it 60 frames per second on the Steam Deck. Now we're gonna also look a little bit at battery life, and of course it's going to really change depending on the quality, depending on the stages, and depending on which mode you're playing. So right now you can see it's using about almost 15.7 out to 16 watts, which is really great. It actually gave me about 2 hours almost of battery life playing Street Fighter 6, and this is just the fighting game option. It does go a little bit high depending on the stages, as you can see here, reaching a little bit the 18 watts, and it goes up to 20. And as I said, this is really gonna depend on the stages, on the effects, and on the settings that you set. But generally speaking, as I said, I had about almost 2 hours of gameplay playing Street Fighter 6 at high preset, which is really great. And I played mostly the fighting part, but also the World Tour mode. But absolutely great here. We're gonna try and see if we can squeeze some more power here. So what we're gonna do here, we're gonna change some settings and try to put things on high. I even changed the frame rate outside of fighting games, outside of the fighting mode, to 60 frames per second. We're gonna see what it's gonna do. And now the texture quality is also set to high. The mesh quality is set to high, and the effects quality is also set to high. Leaving the internal resolution at 4, which is just the best way to do, and the results are great. Again, solid 60 FPS, better shadows, better effects. Now the battery usage gets a little bit, goes up to about 23 watts, so that's gonna drain faster obviously than keeping it on 15. But it really again depends on how much graphic fidelity matters to you. And honestly, the changes in terms of visuals doesn't look that different. So I would maybe stick, if you are planning to play this on a long flight, I would stick to the previous settings and try and keep the battery usage to around 16 or 17 watts, so that you have a longer battery life. It adds about 20 minutes or so to your game. Now let's go ahead and check the World Tour mode, which is again the new mode that the Street Fighter 6 has, which is an RPG-like mode. And right now we're keeping the same settings that we had in the fighting portion, and we're gonna see it actually runs right now about between 30 and 40. It's set. It's actually not capped right now. And while it looks okay as you roam around, the moment you start fighting, things do not look great, as you can see here. So it's running at around 44 FPS or 45, but it just feels very sluggish, very slow, absolutely not playable, which is why the option of setting the World Tour mode to 30 FPS really helps. So we're gonna set it here to 30 FPS. We're leaving the settings, everything on high, but at 30 FPS locked, the gameplay aspect or the fighting aspect actually is playable. Obviously, it's not 60 FPS, but even the PlayStation 5 version, if you are on the graphics mode, it sets the World Tour mode and the battles to 30 FPS. So now we're gonna go ahead and change the NPCs from uncrowded to crowded, and we're gonna see what changes that's going to do, just to have an idea. Going to Chinatown to meet Chun-Li. This is an area with a lot of people usually. Still running just fine because, again, with that 30 FPS caps, it really makes a big difference. You can play a smooth experience at 30 FPS, obviously. Battery usage stays around 23, 24, depending on what you're doing and the number of characters on screen, which is fine. Now we're gonna have to change the NPCs now to standard rather than crowded, and see if that's gonna make any difference in terms of battery usage. And you can see that the battery usage drops a little bit to around 21 and a half. It's not gonna make a huge difference in terms of how long the battery's gonna last, maybe 10 minutes or so. But generally, again, if you are on a long flight and you're trying to play this as long as possible, you may want to try to do these caps, and it actually can drop to around 18-19 watts, which is just pretty good. Again, playing this mode here, which is the Street Fighter 6 World Tour mode. Now we're gonna go ahead and try the docked mode, which is, again, I'm gonna see if this is a good opportunity, a good option to actually take the Steam Deck and make it, like for tournaments, which is a lot easier to do. So we're gonna go ahead, plug it in. We're gonna set the resolution to 1080p. Of course, you can go up to 4K, but there's no way it's gonna run this game on 4K. So we're gonna set you have to set the game resolution by default to 1080p. It doesn't do it within the game, which is a little bit odd. So I struggled a little bit with that before finding it. So I set it up to 1080p, and we're gonna launch the game. We're gonna try first and keep the settings the same, which means everything on high. And now quickly you notice that, yeah, that's not gonna cut it, as it's running around 30 FPS, which is absolutely unplayable. We're gonna do some changes. I'm trying to get as much, we're gonna change the lighting quality, texture quality to normal, shadow quality to normal, and pretty much, and see what happens. Again, a little bit more FPS, still 41, absolutely not playable. So we need more changes here. So yeah, what we have to do now is actually turn everything off in terms of the ambient occlusion, screen space reflection, and motion blur had to be turned off. And then we changed to everything is normal and standard. And now we can squeeze in, and then having the lighting quality at normal, pretty much everything at normal. Shader quality is at low. We'll see how that's gonna work. And we have now a 60 FPS at 1080p on docked mode, which is very playable and absolutely something you can do and run local tournaments, which is, again, one of the reasons a lot of people are into the Steam Deck, because you can just go and take it and get a solid game performance. And as you can see, again, now we're gonna take a look at the World Tour mode. We're gonna keep the settings the same, and as you can see, it's running pretty good. Going again in Chinatown, where there's a lot of people, just to give it a shot. Of course, this is locked to 30 FPS, because there's no way you're gonna play this mode without 30 FPS. Now everything is a little bit, like you can see, the texture quality is not great, as you can see in this area here where we run in. You can see the floor. It looks terrible. But so we're gonna try to maybe get a little bit, squeeze a little bit more, see what we can get. So we try to add ambient occlusion and screen space reflections and motion blur, because, again, this is running at 30 FPS, so we can squeeze more things into it. Unlike the fighting aspects, which has to stay at 60 FPS, we're adding the skin effect as well, and we still have a solid 30 FPS. Although solid and 30 FPS maybe not that great, but the texture looks a little bit better. The lighting is a bit better, so this is very playable at 30 FPS, again, using the dock mode, which is a great option to play the game. So whether you're playing this game in the dock mode or the handheld mode, the Steam Deck is actually capable of handling Street Fighter 6 and allowing you to enjoy this game and all its content using this really portable, amazing device. Just to recap, the best settings you want to have for your Steam Deck, especially if you're playing on the handheld mode, is to try and have you can have everything on in terms of the 720p maximum frame rate, 30 FPS for the non-fighting part, the ambient occlusion, space reflections, and motion blur all turned on. And in terms of detailed graphics, you can actually have everything set on high with the sampling quality into standard, internal resolution kept at 4, and you have very playable experience. So what do you guys think? Let me know what you think about this video. If you guys enjoyed it, please smash that like button. Let me know what your experience is and your hopes of playing Street Fighter 6 on a handheld device with the ROG Ally releasing soon. I might try to get hold of that and give it a shot also and do something similar if you enjoyed this video. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and see you guys next time.